before computerisation, in the street yard, there was about 5 of these boxes.
Yep.
And they used to, one box used to do about 200 train movements an hour. All mechanically done. They were highly skilled, the guys that operated this. They had to be. It's the railway system in England. That's where the level cost of the
Third table.
Yeah, third table.
Next project. They've got it on reverse, so it's blowing hot.
So we'll get
Nearly there, yeah. We've just got not a lot of space in there. When you get in, you'll see. So.
One of these days.
Largest one in the south, yes, correct, yeah.
Oh.
That's a way! How did the city of Frankston manage to get special force? Because I heard it's such a much.
Oh, right. Signals all the way down to Stony Point. So those levers and the cable. Oh, that's amazing, isn't it?
Yep.
Come for an old piece of infrastructure. Very reliable. We hardly have, we do have truck stops and things like this, but not to the same extent as you can. Yeah, correct. So the Frankston box controls down to Stony Point and just signals in the local area. And then the signals further up are controlled by Canada, so that's a computer-based.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so
I'm going to go and grab my cup of tea and listen to the speeches.
All right, we'll see you there.
Thanks, everyone.
You're so
Thanks for
welcome.
letting me know about
You're
that.
so welcome.
I thank you all, and I'm going to stay around. I would love to have photographs with myself and the councillors, and I know Paul is coming back. I am a connoisseur of scones, and I heard you do the best ones, so I'm looking forward to it. Thanks so much.
It's still technically qualified at Frankston, so it's been my home. It's old, it's clunky, but it still works. It's I'm basically, that's my story. The history of the place is probably well put by other people. A lot of people in Frankston will know the changes that's happened over the years. Officially commissioned today. The first train ran on the 29th. So that's what I've discovered. Historians, please tell me otherwise. It's still operational, so mechanically it's still being maintained as best as it can. All the bits and pieces that have come, we've got a great team of mechanical fitters still that are based seated. So they've managed to get parts from other boxes, so showgrounds, Flemington Racecourse, a lot of the parts from that they managed to salvage and bring down to Frankston, and they're basically rebuilding it the old way. A lot of that, Frankston box was built in Newport, so the actual mechanics of it were built in Newport, so the tooling is no longer there, so they're actually they're welding, they're making new parts just to make it operational. However, the signal box has no plans to go. We've got Canada, which is a brand new centre that controls everything, pretty much from Canada all the way up to the city now. But Frankston itself there's no plans of any movement. It's heritage listed. The outside of the box is heritage listed. So even if it was to go, it would still remain.
It's on the heritage overlay, but it's not heritage listed.
There you go. So it needs to be now. It's 100 years old. It needs to be.
Just picking up on the last question, like because you've recognised its heritage value. What are you doing to keep it from falling into dereliction? Because it's looking pretty ragged, and Metro really has the stewardship of it. So what are you doing to preserve the structure and the outside of this? What is the heritage?
So a lot of it. So the actual box itself is owned by Victrac. So Victrac's the owner. We just, as Metro, just guardians of it.
There was an earthquake last year and a few things, so there's been a little bit of movement. We're working with the project coordinator to try and lift the box, but yeah, so we had to fix the drainage issues first before we could lift the box, and obviously we can't lift the box because the frame is integral to the structure of the box itself, so it's quite complex, but yeah, Metro are working on getting the box ship shape, so it is yeah, able to be used in the operation.
The first cold snap coming into autumn, it goes back the other way, and then we get the fitters. Now we've got the issue is also that the signal box has dropped a little bit due to drainage issues and earthquakes and various movements. So we're having to slowly, very slowly, lift it up a little bit at a time. Will it be better? Maybe. Physically easier to operate, yes. But you can't beat the mechanics. It's like having an old Holden and a brand new Tesla. Tesla breaks down on the side of the road, you're going to have to get Elon to come out there and actually come. Old Holden, I'll get out there with a piece of sticky tape and a hammer and it works. So it's the same principle in this. That it's old, it works, there's not really much point of trying to fix it.
Yeah, to save on wages.
Potentially to save on wages, but there's a lot of money to be spent to save wages. So I personally would like to see it remain because I actually love the place.
Are you still training people at this point in time to be able to use those?
Absolutely. So there's new signals going through there all the time. A lot of the signals that are coming through actually enjoy working in that place. It's like having a gym for 8 hours a day. You pull the levers, you get up, moving around, better than sitting on a computer. So I personally enjoy it. Some people like the computers, but I like to know what I'm doing. And it really feels like you're actually doing something in it. So being part.
With the temperature effects you talked about before, with variations in temperature, that would lead to points creep and signals creep, wouldn't it? Like in the sense that it could potentially create an indefinite sort of situation or a set of points that don't close fully, or
correct.
Something that needs to be.
With the weather changes and things like that we have, believe it or not, we can feel when something's going to fail before it fits. So you can actually move a set of points, and it might be fine at 9 o'clock. By 10 o'clock, you can feel, no, something doesn't feel right. We get the fitters out before they even fail. So 90% of the time, we can actually catch something before it actually fails. That's why it's so reliable. With electronics, you know, it gets wet, with a thunderstorm, something like that, and you don't even know what's going to happen. And all of a sudden it fails. And that's when we have the issue. But in this regard, yeah, you can feel it, you know, it's almost like it tells you that there's something wrong.
There is talk, of course, and I guess it will be for a long time, about the electrification of the line, going down to Frankston.
Yes.
Is it going to impact you?
It'll definitely change things. the single box may not survive it, just because of the money that's being. However, in saying that, it won't change a lot for the actual signals. So the trains will just run down further. So currently we've got the state equipment line, it terminates. So we'll just be sending the electric trains further down the line. I dare say if it was to go down there, the part down at Frankston would then turn around and control the mechanical. So you find there's a little bit of control, but mechanical change a lot. You got any other questions?
Theoretically, going on what the gentleman at the back said about putting everything to Cannon up.
Yep.
Now, if all the trains or suburban trains are stable at Cannon up, theoretically you've got no use for 4, 5 and 6 roads, they will be sidings.
Correct.
So in that case, if you get, and the steel train runs straight through, if you abolish 4, 5 and 6, A and B, you're going to be able to knock out the signal box.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Hasn't been spoken about
to knock out the signal box.
No, you want the
So
signal
give up that idea.
No,
the signal box is staying.
Say the signal box, the requirements of the signal box requires a signal box.
Yeah, no, it's a really good thing for training and development, and it's staying.
She doesn't want to move across.
So you're talking about extending the line and whatnot. That was a policy of Liberal federal government and Liberal state opposition at the time. And I know that I think there was the federal ALP said that they would come on board with the two. The business case came out, and I think you'll see that the figures in that business case put a damper on that project very quickly, as a lot of us knew they would. Ripping up, 10 to 15 hectares of native green wedge wildlife, and also the cost. People saying, it'll cost $500 million. The cost will come out to $1.5 billion. So I'll just put it out there right now to everyone in this room, but I think the signal box is safe for quite some time.
End up happening that they just go, we don't need trains down in Frankston, because we don't have
around the corner you have something.
Yeah, but so whereas Canada's quite secure, so
There's somewhere in the block
security guard. There's a whole lot of maintenance facility and everything.
That'd be fun to talk about electricity.
So there's potential. I don't think Frankston will go soon.
Line arrow capacity to influence by being outspoken, not having
I don't want to get in your way. It's pretty cool now, though.
Yeah, we've got a route set up for him to disappear. So once we get rid of the train, I've got to set up a route for one to come in. If we have a look here, we've got one at Seaford. So he's on the way in. So we've got to put the signal back, and we've got to keep an eye on the second stone as well. So we unlock the tracks with the blue leaf, and the black one's changing the tracks. Unlock them. And then our red levers are all the signals. So these levers here coming in are different routes. So we've got that here for platform 2. And because we've got a train on the platform already, we've got to give him a low speed light. So that's basically setting a route.
So with the interlocking in place, so what protects train movements? So we've got the interlocking. So we can't pull any levers out that aren't meant to be coming out, basically. So, for an example, this one comes out vertical C. So this end of the frame's more like flipping. So because it goes all the way down the other end of the yard, it's actually quite light. So I can stand here and do this. So that one's going to take you out of the main one. So if we've got trains in the yard, we're going to go out. So that's control.
They'll wait there until they've got it clear for the...
Yep. So that's
So when you say it's interlocked, does that mean it's actually dependent on another signal, or it's just been locked out completely? Or?
So you can't have two trains coming head on, basically.
Yeah, so it's dependent on another signal. So if you were to change one, it would release them all out. Yeah.
Correct. So like a big jigsaw puzzle. Yeah. I'll show you that in a minute. We'll go down. Yeah. We've got the pull chart up here. So this will, as learners, we try and study this. We try and learn what lever to pull, when to pull it. It's got to go in a certain order. You can't just grab any number and start pulling it. You've actually got to do it in the order. You've got some that are electronic releases, which is kind of a more modern thing, but that's not included in this. So that's part of the training. We explain that part. We've got the Stony Point line, for instance, which is 35 kilometres worth of track. And on a computer panel, some of it's tied in with this. So we pull a lever here and the computer panel actually shows a line. And then we click the rest of the way down to Stony Point. So it's all tied in with itself.
So are you effectively using these as just sort of more a controller into that system, and then the computer links to a system that does it, or is it still, still some, okay, cool.
So
it is linked. It's we've got two signals around the corner that we use the levers for. And
when you have a physical connection, or have they sort of been digitised? You know, they're digital switch now.
They're digitised. So where the signals are, in a couple of locations now, there's a phone. So if the driver was to get out and ring, that would actually flop down, and we just pick it up and we'll talk. You flip that down, press that button, and it would ring down the line.
Gotcha.
So, or if there was a train coming, you know, the same thing. We've got the electric staffs, where it went to Somerville Baxter, would have been one for Mornington as well. And so, and the same thing, you would have the bell code, so you give them a bell, let them know the train's coming, you take the electric staff, so out of the machine. So there was a machine where the black box is there now. Trains, without having that staff, and because it was electrically locked,
there was no way you could ever get two trains in the same set, a certain amount of space.
Right. So just to be pedantic about what I was asking, if this is 100 years old and telephone technology existed then, preceding that, how old is this line then, do you know?
This
I have no clue.
Yeah.
1882.
1882, so
Two Frankston.
No, you're right.
So there was a lot of bells. 10 years ago, we were still using bell codes. So certain signal boxes, some of the tramway squares on the Glen Waverley line, they would actually use bell codes to let us know the next train HCMTs coming in, where they're basically the trains control themselves. It's in the signalling's in the cab itself, so there's no visual signalling out in the field. And then you've got this, which is 100 years old. That, you know, we're lucky we're not lighting lamps. So that's why the place still smells like it's, you know, still covered in oil because it is. So very
yeah, it's a fascinating story. It really is.
it's an amazing place, and
yeah.
And in about 20 minutes we should have a steel train coming through.
You all did that as
I've been qualified here for nearly 10 years, and I've been a permanent, sort of semi-permanent for quite a while, and then permanent for the last 3 years.
Who's responsible for the really fun job of integrating all these old systems with the new ones they sort of bring in and stuff like that? That's what I do with it. So, and I understand the complexities, but I always love
every time something gets added to this place,
and there's even less people qualified that sort of understand how you go about digitalising those mechanical systems and integrating them into one, which is I'm very passionate about.
yes. When they did the station, basically, they ripped out the rotting that was going this way and down to the other end of the yard. When they did that, they had to somehow figure out how to electrify the points down there. So we still had the ability to use it.
And was that something that hadn't been done at other points in Victoria before, or were they posed a certain challenge, or?
They had done them at locations, but those locations already had that. And what's happening now is that we've got this place, which is its
If you have a look at this
own beach.
computer panel here, this is
yeah, so the showgrounds line all got turned into.
and we can, with our cameras, we can see all the way up
So
to
when
the
they got
alley.
turned into computer panel, they just started from scratch.
We used to control that
So there's a
tower
couple
when
of
it first
boxes, which is
came in.
still
Yeah.
physically there.
But now Canonuk's
But the
there.
mechanics
How's
haven't
that?
gone, so they have to use the mechanics
Yeah.
here
Wow.
to
If you have a look over
find
here,
what we've got to deal.
that building
Because not
there is the
everything
new
was
signal
the
box. Yeah, filter in there now.
Have a better look underneath.
So this is continuously recording, I guess. So if there's any, shenanigans, you'd be able to find out what's going on.
Did the dynamo?
Yeah, we can see quite a bit. If we've got
It probably would.
if we've got fitters underneath the camera.
What you see above you there, that's the interlocking. So this is the bit. This is the bit that's going to save trains from derailing, stop us from doing anything stupid. It's like a giant jigsaw puzzle.
I'm loving all these dates. Sorry,
Yeah,
I know
so-
you're talking technical.
No, that's right. So what happens is when the signaller gets qualified, we set them down here with a piece of chalk, and they write their name on the box. It kind of, we've got some really old dates, and then they replace some of the timbers, so we've actually lost a few of them. But that's why there's a lot now of like 20s, 2022s, things like that, because there's been a lot of signals come through.
67.
So I'll show you the oldest one on the next level down. So like cast at the Newport workshops, and then built here, and it was specifically built for this location. So 100 years ago, and no power tools, Something like that. All cast, all.
Amazing.
So, and then over the years things have been added. So we've got the electronics. And they call these the lever fans. So basically, because we've got light switches now that we operate for the signals. So when we pull a lever, it turns those barrels, which then makes the light turn on.
1962 up here. 1967, sorry. On that roadster.
There's 64 up there, but there's even older one.
There's a 56 here, LWB.
Yeah.
You know, it was just
So
mind-boggling.
the architect would have just designed, how much of it would the architect?
So they would have had plans for the interlocking. They would have had hundreds of these around the network.
Yeah.
You know, so and you know, all having to be maintained, all having to. So there's a lot back then that would have been going on, let alone, you know, like this is pretty special to survive this long. There's a train in the sidings currently that I saw sitting there, but I know what these levers do, so they're actually pulling the train out of the sidings with it, which is not a very common thing to do in the middle of the day.
Right.
A lot of people say that, you know, I'm a gunsel, but I'm not. Compared to...
You've got to love what you do, that's the thing. Right?
Correct, yeah.
You know.
So, there's gunsels. So, gunsel being
Like my uncle.
Yeah.
And my mum.
So, yeah, you can be a gunsel or you can be a super gunsel sort of thing. I'm just on the middle level gunsel. So, have a love for the history of the mechanics of it. So, I couldn't tell you the difference between the train years ago, but I can. It's part of it. I love. So, it's definitely very different.
So is this 24/7? Oh wow! I didn't even think of that.
So 24/7, 365 days a year.
Come over. They deserve a medal.
Do it at night time, have candles down here.
Pretty much. So, at night time we
Oh wow.
So what we've got down here is you got your air ramp. So this is what helps the signalers these days. This is like an addition. So we don't always have that.
I was going to ask whether compressors for like sort of like an assistance round or something.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, that's that question. So yeah, the compressor helps us.
Like how is it?
Yeah, back in the day, we had mechanical everywhere. There. That's how we. Yep. So there's a train coming in a platform 2 and a train going out of platform 1. That's what that move is just now.
I remember seeing something somewhere about people who had to live their lives in iron lungs with polio. All the iron lungs are worn out now, and they actually have to go back and manufacture new pieces to keep these people alive. So it's sort of this story, isn't it?
Yes.
Do you keep replacing what is old technology, or do you just keep adding to it with the modern stuff?
You can do a little bit of both. We've got a really good couple of guys up at Seaford Depot, the signal fitters. They're really good at mechanics. One of the guys is an electrical fitter, one of them's a mechanical fitter, and they literally will get out the welders and they will measure up stuff and they'll weld up new pieces. A little bit, so now we're 2 up, except for at night time.
Wow,
So,
that's hard.
yeah, so
My husband was a fitter back in Germany in the 50s.
Yep.
So I understand a little bit about all the lost trades and but this is fascinating.
So that's just resetting the move for the train that's just come into platform 2.
So you actually move, are you moving the rails in any way?
Yes.
No?
Yep.
Yes.
So
Double question.
all this goes out and then goes along out that way for the southern footpath, and that'll actually go out and move the points.
I've seen it on TV.
Yes.
Yeah. Right, it's hard to imagine, isn't it, Paul? It's hard to imagine.
But as I said, it tells you when something's wrong. It tells you when, you know, when they put oil on it, you go, oh, it's so much better. Like, it just, you know, if it rains outside and it's black or something like that, you know it's ready because you can actually feel things all of a sudden start moving because it's sliding in the water. Like, it's all hands on. I could run the place in pitch black blindfolded because I just know from muscle memory. You can't do that anywhere else.
It's such an amazing story.
So
It really is.
I mean, this is, I only know a little bit of the history of this place, let alone the people who've worked it before when they actually train and they pinch coal out of the train to actually put it in the fireplace. So, you know, and that's, you know, back in the, well, up until the 80s, the fireplace was there. So, you know, and they, same thing, the track gangs used to have barrels, you know, where they'd just light the fire when it was a cold night.
Yeah, I've seen that
Yeah.
the other day.
So, it doesn't happen anymore because of occupational health and safety, but, and it was buried underneath bricks and they had sand and they had all sorts of stuff in there. So when they dug it out, they realised that we figured out why it was so heavy for us to operate because it was like pushing through sand.
It's amazing how a place like this can exist. It's a very functional thing, but it looks like something from the Dark Ages, doesn't it?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Look, it's, you know, as I said, it's got
There's
100-year-old.
something warm about it. Like, I'm not a mechanical person, and this is very mechanical to me.
Yeah.
But yet there's a warmth here. I don't know. Like, there's something.
There's a real love for it
That's
because
what I should have done with my life.
there's a lot of people that, you know, they grumble and they groan and you know, I don't want to work at single box and you know, this place is crap because it's, you know, tiring and stuff like that. But if you actually spoke to them about, you know, okay, what's bad about it, what do you like about it, you'll find that most people will actually enjoy it. A lot of the signalers, the newbies coming through now even, they love it because they actually feel like they're doing something. Their time isn't being spent just staring at a computer screen. They're actually physically doing it. And
With my limited sort of connections with the Frankston history group and the guys that I have spoken to about the signal box at various times, they love the signal box. You can feel in the way they express whatever the subject is at the time, you can feel the love.
Yes.
And that has really stood out. And then you've said it, and I'm thinking it must be a thing that, you know,
it is a thing.
You guys just...
The newer boxes are a bit more sterile. Whereas these ones, you know, you get...
Is that what it is, the character?
You get the brasso out on a Sunday morning when there's no trains. You get the brasso out and clean all the plates and all the rings around the lights and everything like that. You give them a clean, and that's... It sort of got carried on from the old days. You know, the old days, the station master used to run the box. So the station master would come out here on a weekend or something like that, make sure the signal was dressed properly, make sure that
dressed properly.
Make sure that all the lights were clean, make sure that, you know, that everything was ship-shape, you know. And I try to carry it along, and I know Rob's, you know, quite passionate about it, so he tries to carry it along. He's done a fair bit of painting and things like that up there to make it look a bit nice. We've got photos up there, things like that. But, you know, the newer boxes, not so much. You know, the newer boxes, they've got photos, but we take photos of stuff that's today. You know, maybe in 100 years' time. So...
But that's the big question, isn't it? Like, there's a major difference between a photo and the real deal.
That's right.
You know, that's the whole historic question, what's worth saving and why do you save it?
That's right. So, for some people it's just an eyesore that, you know, people don't even know we exist. A lot of people...
I look at it every time I come to Frankston.
Yeah, a lot of people...
First thing
I speak to a lot of people and I say, you know, I'm a signal, and people go, the signal, I go, I put it in trains, and they go, oh, okay.
But don't computers do all that these days?
Yeah, that's right.
That's what most people
do. People go, oh, it's just computerised. But no. And then they go, oh, where do you work? And I go, Frankston. They go, what, that big old building at the end of the station? Yeah. I'm like, really? There's people there? I'm like, yeah. So, in a way, it's good that people don't know we're there. But I would have really liked to go astray.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I have a passion for it. This was my home. Like, me and one of the other guys, we spent like weeks doing 12-hour shifts back to back. So I basically, he'd leave, I'd be here for 12 hours, and then he'd come in and I'd go home, and we were doing that for weeks. We had a bit of a shortfall for a while. And you really, you know, when you're living and breathing the place, and it tells you what's going on, and you know, look, there's a train coming over that, and you can feel it rattle, and like it's a different thing. So that's why, you know, I got asked to do this presentation as well. So